Hello, readers. My name is Mrs. Salisbury, and I'm a teacher at Bellevue Elementary. I'm so glad to be here with you today to practice our reading strategy of asking and answering questions before, during, and after we read. Readers ask and answer questions in order to better understand their story. Readers are curious about the book, and when we ask ourselves questions, we're able to really think about the characters' feelings and actions. I hope you were able to participate in our lesson yesterday, where we read the beginning of our book, Jamaica's Blue Marker. Today, we'll be reading the middle and the ending of the book while we focus on the comprehension strategy of asking and answering questions. Give me 1 second so I can share my screen. Okay, so our lesson is I can ask and answer questions to help me understand fiction stories when I read. Before we get started today, I want to review again the different types of questions. One type of question is the green questions. Green questions usually begin with the WH words: who, what, where, when, and which. Readers can answer the green questions by going back and looking in the text. Another type of questions are red questions. Red questions make the reader stop and think about what happened in the text, but also what they know. Red questions usually start with why do you think, how, what if, what caused, and what was the effect of. Our book again is Jamaica's Blue Marker. It's written by Juanita Hayville and illustrated by Anne Sipley O'Brien. It's a realistic fiction book, which means that the events in the story could happen in real life, and the author's purpose is to entertain. We also talked yesterday that the author might be trying to teach the readers a lesson, because in this book, Jamaica and Russell learn very important lessons. There are 2 vocabulary words in the book that I want to review. The first one is peeked, which means took a little look at something very fast. In our text yesterday, it said Jamaica peeked at Russell's paper. She looked at it very quickly, which means she probably didn't want Russell to know that she was taking a look at his work. The other vocabulary word is stack, which is a pile of something that is neatly arranged. This picture shows you a stack of papers. They're neatly arranged. Let's answer a few questions from the beginning of the story before we read. Who are the main characters in our story? And what was the important event in the beginning of the story? Stop and think about these green questions. And here are the answers. Jamaica and Russell are the main characters. And the important event at the beginning of the story was that Russell scribbled on Jamaica's picture with a blue marker. And it was Jamaica's blue marker that she let him borrow. Today, we'll be reading the middle and the ending of our story. Remember, we're going to focus on asking and answering the questions to better understand. I'm going to pull up the digital text here. I'll be doing the reading, but I want you to follow along. Remember, we're starting in the middle of the story, right after Jamaica told her father and her brother about what Russell had done. She was very upset. I'm going to turn to start in the middle. So we'll be starting when Jamaica goes back to school the next day. And already as a reader, I'm wondering about how she's going to handle the situation with Russell. Yeah. All right, let's start reading in the middle. The next time they had art, Jamaica was glad Russell didn't sit at her table. Then he couldn't bother her, and she didn't have to share her markers with him either. But at recess, Russell threw sand at her and chased 2 second-grade girls, so he had to go to the office. As a reader, I'm asking myself, why does Russell continue to do these unkind things? What's causing him to behave this way? Before he came back, Mrs. Worth said, I would like to tell you something. Can you keep a secret? Yes, Jamaica shouted with her classmates. We are going to have a going away party for Russell on Friday. His father has a new job in another town. They will be moving over the weekend. I thought that you might like to make cards to say goodbye. Then Russell will have something to remember us by. Mrs. Worth passed out paper. Then she showed everyone how to fold the paper into a card. Jamaica didn't want to make a card for Russell. She was glad he was moving. Then he wouldn't bother her anymore. She put the paper in her desk. At supper, Jamaica said, I like living here. I like my house and my room and the tree in the front yard. I like my school too. I'm glad you do, her mother said. I wouldn't like to move. Who said anything about moving? Ossie asked. Russell is moving, Jamaica said. So as a reader right now, I'm stopping to think, why is Jamaica thinking about moving? And how is she feeling about Russell? I can tell she's thinking about moving because maybe she's starting to worry about Russell and his feelings. Let's keep reading to find out. Lucky you. He won't mess up your pictures anymore, Ossie said. I wonder how Russell feels about moving, Dad said. He might be upset. Has he talked about it? Russell doesn't say anything. He just gets in trouble, Jamaica said. Russell didn't come to the classroom on Friday morning. He was with his mother in the office. Jamaica looked at his empty desk. Next week, Russell would be gone. He wouldn't be at his desk ever again. She decided to make a card for Russell. She got out the blank card and her markers too. Right now, I can answer my question that I was asking earlier. Clearly, Jamaica was starting to feel badly for Russell, and that's why she decided to make a card for him. But just then, Mrs. Worth asked, "Who are my helpers this week?" Jamaica raised her hand. "Jamaica, could you collect the cards and put them in Russell's desk? Brianna and Thomas, I'd like for you to clear the activity table for the plates and cups." As a reader, I'm asking myself, I wonder if Jamaica had enough time to finish that card. She started late, so maybe not. We'll keep reading to find out. Jamaica went from desk to pick up the cards. She put the whole stack in Russell's desk. As he closed his desk, Russell came in with his mother. The party started. They played games for a while and ate cake. Russell opened his desk and took out all the cards. "Look, Mom, everybody made a card for me." Not everybody, Jamaica thought. She took the blue marker out of her marker bag. Then she ran up to Russell. "This is for you, Russell." She handed him the marker. "You can use it at your new school." So I just read in the text the answer to one of my questions. She did not have enough time to make the card for Russell, and that she decided that she was going to give him her blue marker instead. But you might need it, he said. You like to draw. You draw the best pictures in the class. What if you have to color the sky? Someone will share with me. Thanks, he said. You're lucky. You get to stay here. Now Jamaica knew how Russell felt about moving. I wish you didn't have to move, she said. When Jamaica waved goodbye to Russell, she noticed that his mother was carrying his goodbye cards. Russell held up the blue marker and waved it at her as if he'd won a prize. Goodbye, Russell. I'll miss you, Jamaica said, and she meant it. And there's the ending of our story. I can look at the picture and see that Russell's feeling very happy to have that blue marker. Let's get back to our lesson. Okay, let's answer questions about events in the middle and the end of the story. We're going to start with our green questions. Question number 1. What does Mrs. Worth ask the class to do for Russell? Now, if you had the book, you'd be able to go back and look. But since you don't, you can either pause the video and go back to the digital text, or just think about what we read. What does Mrs. Worth ask the class to do for Russell? And the answer from the text is, Mrs. Worth asked the class to make cards to say goodbye to Russell. Question number 2. What did Jamaica do with the paper at first? I'm remembering about this. At first, she did not want to make a card for Russell. She was still upset with him. The answer to number 2 is Jamaica put the paper in her desk. Question number 3. Which color marker did Jamaica give to Russell? Do you remember? She gave Russell her blue marker. It was one of her favorites. And remember, Russell said, "How will you draw the sky if you give it to me?" She was confident that someone would share with her. Number 4, what does Jamaica learn about Russell's feelings? I remember at the beginning of the story, she wasn't sure how Russell felt about moving because she said he didn't say anything. But today, we read when Russell said, "You're lucky you get to stay." That helps me get to my answer. Number 4, the answer is, Russell told her that she is lucky that she gets to stay. So that is when Jamaica found out that he was sad about moving. Okay, readers, today your reading response will be to answer the questions about the middle and end of the story. This graphic organizer will be linked in the assignment section for you to practice. The first question is, how does Jamaica feel when she thinks about moving? Why do you think she feels this way? You can either print this graphic organizer, create your own graphic organizer, or make a copy of this if you would like to type your answers in. Remember, these are read questions, and when readers ask or answer read questions, we must think about the text, but also think about what we know in order to analyze the character's feelings and actions. Question number 2. What caused Jamaica to give her marker to Russell at the end of the story? And then for your third one, I actually gave you the answer, and I want you to come up with the question. So the answer is, Russell held up the blue marker and waved it at Jamaica as if he had won a prize. I'd like you to think of a question that would go with that answer. You could start it with what effect or how. Readers, I hope you enjoyed the middle and the end of our story, Jamaica's Blue Marker. We'll get together again tomorrow to reread and to continue our work on asking and answering questions. Remember, it's important when you read that you ask yourself questions and then answer the questions also in order to help you better understand the story. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you tomorrow.